Hello. We're back. So today we're going to chat about me and my viewer. I see you, my one viewer. Hope you're keeping well. Today we're just going to have a quick chat about the reality and the difference between starting a business, and buying a business. The pros and cons. I suppose there's a lot of pros to buying a business if you buy it right and you buy the right business, because all the heavy lifting's done. One business acquisition that I'm looking at the minute is again in a different sector to any of the businesses I've started that I currently have. It's been running for about 18 years, so it has stood the test of time. You're going to want to look for businesses that are at least 5 years old, because there's a high rate of businesses that fail within the first 5 years. What else do you look for when you're buying a business? Well, so proven track record. You want to acquire a business ideally that is not owner dependent, and if it is, that you can put someone in place instead of them and the business can afford to do so. So if you buy a business that is owner dependent and the owner is paying themselves 100 grand a year, the owner leaves, you're going to have to put somebody else in place that can fit into their shoes, do what they do, which is very hard to do, because any business that is owner dependent, it's number one, it's not going to sell for the same multiple that it would if it was owner independent, and because it's more attractive to a buyer to buy a company that is not dependent on any one person, especially the owner. But it's not always the case that every business is going to be owner independent, because it's a difficult thing to do. But if you're clever enough and you know how to do it and you believe in the business and all the other boxes are checked, as in it has a good team in place, good structures in place, good systems in place, it's profitable, it's well established, you can come in with your expertise and put the right people in place so that it can run independently of you. Now typically, if you acquire a business, you're not just going to go in overnight, acquire it and have nothing to do. You're going to go in and spend a lot of time making sure that everything is systemized, optimized. We usually go in with the approach of, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But there's often a lot of opportunity to improve systems, automation, elimination, in some cases delegation, like trim the fat. You might find that there's no need for that amount of employees, or whatever it might be, that you could trim the fat in that regard. So you're going to look for ways to reduce costs and maximize profits. But buying versus starting is just so labor intensive, and you're taking on the risk of the unknown. You don't know if the business you start is going to be a success. Now, you might have a lot of experience in that industry, and there might be a lot of other businesses that are doing well in that sector that you choose to do your startup in, but there's still no guarantee. Like building up brand credibility, building systems from scratch, especially if you're trying to bootstrap it, as in you're not getting loans, you're not getting investors, you're just going from the ground up, which is what I'm doing currently. So you probably see in some of my previous YouTube videos that I've a new startup, which I was hesitant about doing because I don't really need to. It's definitely not the best use of my time. I would be better off spending my time just focusing on running the businesses that I have and focusing on the acquisitions, because one acquisition deal overnight could bolt on 7 figures of revenue to your portfolio, 6 figures of profit, an extra salary from day one. You get paid as soon as you acquire that business and you own the asset. You get paid straight away. You may even get a deal fee. You may work a deal fee as a little bonus for yourself on day one. Whereas with a startup, it's going to be at least a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months, before you can start taking a wage from it. It's going to take a lot of time, but it's building systems and building a team and building the brand and all that goes with it. But I'm actually a bit tired today. I went out for some pints of Guinness last night down the local bar. A family member was having their leaving do, and it wasn't just the one. So strong coffee is required today as we sit down, go through and do the weekly review on the notepad. Weekly review consists of reviewing, I suppose, what got done this week, what's the plan for next week. So I have a lot of meetings tomorrow. Tomorrow it's all Zoom meetings. Tuesday, physical meetings. But checking over the KPIs, like for the new business, for the existing businesses, what I have to do next week to get maybe certain acquisition deals progressed. I have interviews to conduct next week for the new business. Yeah, so that's usually what I do on Sundays. Sit down with a cigar, do a weekly review, write it out, plan out the calendar, plan out the to-do list, tidy up a couple of loose ends, and then maybe head off for a drive with herself. But yeah, starting a business is crazy, and going through this process again of completely starting with a new idea, everything from getting the logo created and getting the website and all the bits and bobs that you shouldn't spend too much time on. You know, focus your time on revenue generating activity, sales and more sales. Always be lining up new sales, always be trying to close the leads that you have, working on the leads that you have, and every time you get a new sale, celebrate by going out and hunting for a new one again. Okay, don't rest on your laurels, as they say. But the new starter was going pretty good. Like the first week we closed the first customer, the second week we closed our second customer. I'm pushing it at a rate where I can manage. I don't want to overload, don't want to bring in like 20 customers within the first 2 weeks, because the systems aren't there, the team isn't there just yet. I want to make sure that the customer experience is 100%, that when a new customer comes in, the onboarding process is absolutely bulletproof, the service delivery is bulletproof, everybody knows what they're doing. So we've 2 team members at the minute. Well, one will be coming on next week, and then I'll probably bring in, the following week after that, I'll probably bring in a VA just to cover some of the general little bits, like maybe managing the social media stuff and managing the general admin stuff. But this week now I actually got proof of concept and got the first sale in before the company was set up as a limited company. So I took in the payment into one of my other Irish companies, and then once I have the bank account set up for the new limited company, I'll just move everything over with a new zero account for invoicing and all that sort of jazz that goes with it. So set up some of the basic internal systems. So the likes of Slack.com, we set up a Slack workplace there for the new business, just for internal team communication. If you don't have Slack in place, regardless of whether you're running a bloody advertising agency, a plumbing company, a gym, an accountancy practice, have some sort of if you have a team, have some sort of an internal communication system in place. Don't just rely on WhatsApp messages and emails, because it can get messy, it can get scattered. And the more organised and neat you can be with all of these little things, the easier your life is going to be. So I would highly recommend setting up Slack.com for internal communication, regardless of your business or what industry you're in. And you can link some stuff to, like, you can integrate that with Clockify if you want to track team hours. You can integrate it with Trello if you want to track tasks and assign tasks to certain members of your team. But then separate to that, so that's your internal communication system. You're also going to have accounting systems like Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, whatever you might have. But just having that alone is not good enough. Well, that's my personal thought. It's just like having Xero and producing clicking the button on that once a month to produce a profit and loss. It's not good enough. It's not accurate enough, because there's probably going to be invoices there that were sent out that haven't been paid, might never be paid. Even if you have a bookkeeper there and it's fully reconciling, it's up to date, it's still going to be on an accrual basis. So I personally like to be able to see the accrual and the cash base So I usually get a cash-based profit and loss sent to me by the bookkeeper for each business once a week. Once a month is usually sufficient. I like to see it once a week because I'll do it as part of the weekly review, and I can just quickly scan, right, each business for that week. What was the cash in? What was the cash out? What's cash on hand? And any other kind of KPIs that I want to track. And it just gives me a quick glance. I can check that in less than 5 minutes, 2 minutes, the financial performance of the business. And I can click a little button on the dashboard to see weekly, each week what went in, what went out. And we can click on to open that more to see, right, looks like we spent more than we brought in on work week 32 or whatever. Why was that? So we can click into that, open it up, and see a full list of everything that went out. And look, if you want a template for that, everyone that I work with inside of the systems and delegation program, which used to be called the delegation bootcamp program, I'll give you the template for all of that. And if you have a bookkeeper, just get your bookkeeper to start using that. If you don't have a bookkeeper, I'll show you how to hire a bookkeeper, because you should not be doing the bookkeeping or general admin stuff yourself. Like I said earlier on in this video, you want to focus on higher level skills, revenue generating activities. So delegation is key. So delegating everything from the general financial admin stuff to, you know, managing your CRM. And if you don't have a CRM, you should have a CRM. If you need a CRM, go to tradematecrm.com and get that. It's an amazing CRM. It's TRADEMATE CRM.com. I use it for all my businesses. A lot of our clients use it for their businesses. It's amazing for tracking your pipeline, your sales pipeline. If you want to set up automations to trigger certain email sequences depending on where prospects or leads are or customers are within your pipeline. If it's a new lead, if you've spoke to them and you have them booked in to follow up or whatever, especially if you have a sales team, to be able to track the pipeline, track the leads, and it can automate the follow-up process for that. It's amazing. You can host your website, you can host landing pages, you can host digital products, connect all your social medias, manage all of your posting in social media, manage all of your comments and DMs across all platforms. You can even have your company phone connected to it, so that it's like if your salesperson can ring from the desktop or the phone. There's a mobile app as well, and it records all of the calls. Other systems that you should have are, well, obviously having structure. So you should have your company organization chart, and that should be interactive, as in, right, you can see each person's role, and you have it set up in even something as simple as Google Sheets. And don't fall for the whole thing of that systemizing a business means that you have to have 100 different softwares and all this confusing technology. You don't. Google Sheets, Google Docs, and a couple of key systems like Slack.com, Xero or QuickBooks, one or two other things, like even just Slack, QuickBooks, Google Docs and Sheets. That's the bones of what you're going to need in general, unless you're doing something specialist and you need specialist software for pricing or whatever it might be, or to carry out the work you might need CAD or whatever if you do drawings. But in general, for business management, Slack, Xero, and then Google Sheets, Google Docs. Set up your company organizational chart, and for each, so you'll have it broke down. You'll have management level, and then you'll have departmental level. For each department, you'll have an SOP library, and then underneath each department, you'll have what we call role profiles. So role profiles are, you might have sales rep role profile, and it just states the company name, who's responsible for this role, and then you'll also have a link to each person. So there might be 5 sales reps, so you'll have, for each sales rep, you're going to have a personal profile that has all of their personal information, the link to their employment contract, their hourly rates, their daily workflow or whatever it might be, their next of kin details, emergency contact details, proof of address, ID, copy, whatever it might be. That should all be on their personal profile inside of a HR folder, inside of your Google Drive or wherever you store your documents. But yeah, each person's name will link to their personal profile, and then as you go down the role profile, it states like what this role is, how to carry out this role, and how to carry out each of the tasks. It'll state, you know, what's the daily workflow. So for the sales rep, first thing you do each morning is whatever. check your WhatsApp and Slack messages and make sure that everything is responded to. Move on to plan your calendar for the day, line up all of your calls for the day, check the CRM to see what new leads came in. If you've got empty space in your calendar throughout the day, follow up with some of the old leads in X stage of the pipeline or whatever it might be. And then down below that, it's going to explain how to do different tasks. So it might be, you know, like you want to document absolutely everything, so that if the current person you have doing this role, whether it's a sales rep or a plumber or whatever, or accountant, if they drop dead or they leave in the morning, okay, let's bring in somebody new and they can just go through this role profile and they know exactly what to do. All their questions are answered, all of the training is in there. So it might be something as simple as, you know, how to access the CRM, and you might have a little video, a Loom video there, or a screen recording. It might even link to another SOP, an individual SOP document. So step by step on how to access the CRM, and that'll include, right, go to www.tradematecrm.com, log in using this email address, this is the password. Once you get in, then you go to here, you go to there, and here's a video to walk you through it. So you'll record a little video showing them how to do that. The next step might be, you know, how to, when a new lead comes in, how to conduct the call. So you might have another little link to another SOP sheet, and that'll say, right, first thing you do is go and get a copy of the discovery call script. Go to file, make a copy on that, save it into this folder, update it with the new prospects contact details, their name and their phone number. Prepare that script before the call. Go back to the CRM, open up the phone system, underneath the contact's name, dial the number, go through the script. After the call, if you close it, do this. If it doesn't close, do this. If they want to call back, do this. If they have this objection, do this. So you can have a full SOP on how to carry out the call, including training videos. It's the same if you, I always end up going back to the car validator for some reason, but if you're detailing cars, the role profile for that would be, you might have things like, you know, how to prepare the car for polishing, and then that'll be one SOP. So first thing you do is this: bring the car over to the bay, check this, check that, whatever needs to be done, use this product, use X amount, 2-to-1 ratio, yada yada, this is the sponge you use, this is the hose you use. It should take between 5 to 10 minutes, whatever it might be. So you'll have a full SOP in that, and you can actually get your phone or a camera and record one of your staff currently that you have doing it, or get someone to record you doing it if you're the one responsible for it, you're trying to delegate that. Get that video, upload it onto the SOP document, link it to the role profile, so then whoever you bring in, they have all of their training, they have all of their answers to all of their questions. So the role profile is super important because it's the blueprint for that role. It's the blueprint for the sales rep, it's the blueprint for the car detailer, it's the blueprint for the bookkeeper, it's the blueprint for the whatever, the plumber, the accountant. Role profiles are absolutely key. Again, I've templates for role profiles. I've templates, so we've got like a company blueprint, and it's like a business in a box. It has everything linked, so you've got your org chart that's integrated to all of your role profiles. Again, templates for that, templates for personal profiles, templates for SOPs, training on how to build out SOPs, how to create SOPs, how to document all of this, how to store it, how to link them all together. And then moving on to delegation as well is, you know, how to build an accountable team, because you could build all of this stuff out, but if your team aren't actually going to follow what you've built or implement it or take ownership for their role, then it's a waste of time. You know, so you might have little things like, you can use frameworks like decision-making frameworks and stuff like that are very useful. But what we also have is KPI dashboards. So a KPI dashboard is usually for internal use only. You can update that yourself, or usually what I'd say is hire a VA to help you with the lower admin tasks. They update the KPI dashboard. So KPI dashboard is just basically each department or each role is going to have certain KPIs that determine what needs to be achieved on a weekly basis in order for that role to be performing as it should, for the business to continue running and growing in the way that you want it to. Each department or each role will probably have 3 to 5 weekly KPIs. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it could be more, it could be 10. But trying to keep KPIs to a minimum will just make it simple. I usually say try to keep it like to 3 if you can, 3 to 5. And inside your KPI dashboard, it's the template we use is based on a Google Sheet, and you can see on a weekly basis you'll have KPIs for each department. So we break it down through each department, marketing department KPIs, sales department, operations, admin, and accountant or whatever. Usually there's no need for the admin one, it'll fall in under operations or accounting. But you'll know that you'll have it listed out, the department, the KPI, the expectation, and then the result for each week. So if the expectation is for the marketing department to generate 100 leads and they generate 95, that KPI is going to come up in a red colour. And if they generate 105 or 101, it'll come up in green. They've hit it, they've surpassed it. You don't need to speak to the marketing team. Everything's fine in that regard. Then you might see your sales team. One of the KPIs might be, you know, to close or to conduct 20 calls per week. And then another KPI for them might be to close 2 of those 20 calls per week. And again, you set that up in a way with some automations to show that you can just glance at this. Is the sales team, did they hit their targets? Yes, it's in green. If they didn't, it's in red. And you can say, right, once a week I'll review that. Okay, I need to have a chat with the sales head of sales or the sales rep in the morning. So KPI dashboards are absolutely amazing for tracking the performance. That alone, a KPI dashboard, is only for tracking to see who's on track and is the business on track. You'll have financial KPIs as well, you know, X amount of cash in the bank, it's in the green or the red, and that'll all be pulled from your what we call the cash flow tracking sheet. It's basically a cash-based profit and loss template that I get the bookkeeper to update. Again, I have templates for that, templates for the KPI dashboards. But that alone is not going to hold your team accountable. So you need to have different measures in place and systems in place for accountability and ownership. Obviously, hiring the right people is key. Hire for the soul, train for the role. When you're hiring someone, like, just because they have these really amazing CVs and stuff like that, it's not till you get them in and see what they're like when they're tested with a problem. Attitude is absolutely everything. Attitude and work ethic is much more important, that's my personal opinion, than any qualification. Like, obviously if you're some sort of a healthcare practice or something like that, people need to be trained, they need to be qualified, but don't just base it on that alone, because one bad apple can spoil the bunch. You want to make sure the people that you're hiring fit your company values, and you should have your company values listed out. Again, we put that into the company blueprint, and it should align, they should align with the values of the company, and you should be able to determine, you should base it off their attitude. But the hiring process is key as well. Like, and that's the difference between building a good team and a bad team, is the hiring process and the questions that you ask at the interview stage. And you know, there's a lot that goes into that element of it as well. But going back to holding a team accountable, you know, you need to have, you can have a kind of a pull-push incentive system in place wherein, you know, you'll have it built into their role profile or a contract. If they consistently hit their KPIs, that you might put some sort of a bonus or commission structure in place, that if they get a 6-month streak or a 90-day streak without missing a KPI, they get X bonus. And if they, over the course of a month, if KPIs are missed, if any one KPI is missed 3 times, they're in for a performance review. You know, and if they have 3 performance reviews within the course of a year, you'll set something up for that. You know, maybe their pay will be reduced, maybe they will be demoted, maybe they'll be sent off for training, they might lose their job. So you need to have incentives in place from both sides to keep them aligned. Something that's going to push them to do it because they're going to want to get the bonus, and something that's also going to stop them from falling back because they don't want to lose their job or whatever it might be. That's one element of it. Another element is having an accountability dashboard. And basically, it can sound, this can often be confused with a KPI dashboard. It's not the same. KPI dashboard is just for you to see, is the business performing, is each department performing or not. An accountability dashboard, visually it kind of looks the same, but it's to track recurring tasks that need to be done for each role, each member of the team within the business. And this is generally something that all team members have access to. Everyone can see it. and they update it. And it's part of their non-negotiables, whether at the start of the day, end of the day, start of the week, end of the week, they have to update this. And it just basically shows whether they're getting their job done or not. For once-off tasks that need to be tracked, there's tons of different ways of doing that. It's surprising how many businesses don't have systems for tracking like projects, once-off projects. Regardless of whether you're a digital marketer or a construction company, like let's say you're a construction company, you should still set up Slack, and then for each job you take on, let's say you're building a hotel, XYZ hotel, create a channel for that, right? Who's in that channel? So who's on the job, who's project manager, who are the subcontractors, what employees are in it, put them into that channel. And you can also integrate the likes of Trello. So Trello is just like a task tracking tool, but it integrates with Slack. So rather than just in the chats of Slack saying, hey Paul, can you do this? Yeah, I'll do that, and then it's forgotten about. I can't remember if I said to Paul or when I said that to Paul. And you're trying to go back through the archives of the chat. That's where Trello comes in handy, because you just put a little / Trello, add task for Paul to whatever the task is, and that'll store on Trello. It'll be assigned to Paul, and you can put down if there's a date that it's due by, you can put it onto that. So that's going to help with kind of tracking once-off tasks and projects and stuff like that. But I'm probably waffling on a little bit about everything and not much about any one thing in particular. But that's the importance of systems within a business, and I suppose ultimately it is easier to buy a business, but the process of getting that done, getting it over the line, it's a different skill set. You need to know how to find deals, you need to know how to structure deals, you need to know how to carry out financial due diligence, operational due diligence. You need to make sure that the staff that are in place are not going to leave when you take over, you know, that not too much of the goodwill of the business is dependent on the current owner as well. And then on the other side, you build a business from the ground up. You can build it your way, and you know exactly how it is. But what I would say is, regardless of whether you're starting a business today or you already have a business that's 20 plus years old, start to build it with your exit in mind. Build it as a sellable, scalable business that is not owner dependent. And if that's something you need help with, whether you want to execute on an operational exit, which is completely systemize your business, a good team in place who can run it for you, an owner independent asset that is scalable, that you can step back from, that could run without you, or an operational or an ownership exit, which is ultimately to execute on an operational exit and then sell it. So to maximize the sale value of the business, position it as an attractive asset to a potential buyer, and maximize what you're actually going to get on the day that you sell it. So regardless of which, if you're a goal, dying, I can help you with that. I can help you systemize your business. I can help you with delegation. So if you do need some help, go to radio just turned on. Go to www.systemsanddelegation.com. You'll be able to see some training there. And if you're not interested in it, don't go if it's not for you. And if you stuck around to this stage in the video, fair play. Hope you enjoyed it. And for those of you who keep watching the videos and don't comment or don't give a thumbs up or anything like that, I see you. Leave me a little thumbs up anyways, and if there's any questions you have with regards to anything I'm talking about, or anything you'd like me to cover on the channel in a future video, drop a comment below. And if you do need some help, go to systemisanddelegation.com, have a look at the training, and if you want to reach out to see can we work together, you could do so there. Enjoy your Sunday, guys.